Today, I want to talk about how the SEC and the OCC have just admitted that A, AMC will squeeze, and B, that the squeeze is about to happen. But I also want to explain what the SEC is trying to do about it. So stay tuned and let's make some money. We also just had the best day in the Millionaire Mindset trading group we've ever had, trading HOLO or HOLO up 414%, which I called not just once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but 5 separate times. But before I talk about that in more detail, I want to talk about the OCC and the SEC and how they've proposed a rule to reduce margin requirements to prevent a cascade of clearing member failures. So firstly, before I dive in with all of this information, I want to give a quick overview of exactly what the OCC and the SEC have just proposed. So effectively, the OCC realised there are indeed heightened periods of market volatility coming, and during those heightened periods of volatility, many members suffer margin calls. Margin calls were originally created and implemented as a result of preventing a catastrophic destruction of the financial system. Instead of allowing hedge funds, banks and institutions effectively unlimited losses, they capped their losses when their margin or when their accounts hit zero. That way, one singular bank, institutional hedge fund couldn't do any damage to anyone else out there. Because obviously, once their assets have hit zero, that's them gone. They won't allow those assets to go into negative territory, creating massive losses for the entire financial system. But the OCC is now trying to propose a rule to reduce margin requirements and even suspend margin calls during periods of high volatility. That's effectively to try and prevent individual clearing members from defaulting, because doing so could or would start a domino effect. And that domino effect would tank multiple clearing members. So not just one hedge fund, but many hedge funds, maybe all the hedge funds, and maybe the banks as well. It says here the proposed rule change would codify OCC's process for adjusting certain parameters in its proprietary system for calculating margin requirements during periods when the products OCC clears and the markets it serves experience high volatility. So basically the OCC and the SEC are proposing to unwind regulations to suspend margin calls or reduce margin requirements, effectively trying to unwind what was worked so hard for to put in place since 2008. As this user posted on Reddit, when the markets are stressed and margin requirements go up, a clearing member could fail to meet the margin requirement, default, be margin called, and that creates a loss that's covered by the clearing fund. Now, the clearing fund is funded by other clearing members, other banks, institutions, and market makers and hedge funds, and when that loss is paid out by the clearing fund, it could potentially screw over other clearing members. That could cause them to go under as well, which is effectively a systemic risk. Now, that really is how the system should work, because instead of allowing this one individual member to go significantly negative and have unlimited losses, which by the way is exactly what happened between FTX and Alameda Research, the rest of the members clubbed together to cover that small loss. But obviously, without these members clubbing together to cover a small loss, that small loss can multiply and go on forever. Margin calls are literally created to prevent exactly what happened with Alameda and FTX, where Alameda had unlimited losses and blew up the entire of FTX. Now, I'm not going to go through this full post on Reddit. I'll obviously link it in the description below if you do want to do some further reading. But really what I'm taking from this is that the SEC and the OCC are indeed seeing a period of massively heightened market volatility coming, where tons of members will be margin called. And effectively, to try and stop those margin calls, they're just going to scrap the rulebook on margin requirements and margin calls. Now, as Bigham's pointed out, he tweeted saying he loves to see the SEC's biggest fear becoming a reality. I also wanted to go through HOLO in more detail, where the Millionaire Mindset Trading Group absolutely smashed it, with tons of people locking in over 100% gains. You can see Arif took multiple profitable trades, the ingestible bulk took multiple profitable trades as well, RJ's locked in 105% gains, and Jamin also locked in over 100% as well. As I said, this was one where I called the breakout multiple times. I first called it here in the pre-market, looking for the breakout of $2.35. Then I was looking for the breakout of $3.28, where it came outside the Bollinger Band straight away, pulled back by about 10%, and is now off again. I then moved my breakout point to $5.47 on hollow, which was here, and then finally another breakout spot at $8.17, which was here. Again, each of these messages, as you can see from the charts and also the messages, were alerted each time before the breakout in the Millionaire Mindset Trading Group. So guys, be sure to sign up to the Millionaire Mindset Trading Group using the link in the description below. What I find really interesting here is the OCC recently implemented some idiosyncratic controls through March to April 2020 and January 27th, 2021 during the GameStop sneeze. Now, Biggums has also spoken about these idiosyncratic control settings more in depth and effectively explained how the SEC and the OCC helped out these hedge funds during March to April of 2020, January 2021, and also April of 2023. You can see here, even from their specific regulation documentation, it says the OCC implemented these global settings on a few occasions, through March 9th, 2020 until April 9th, 2020, and also on January 27th, 2021, the meme stock episode. They even implemented it more recently on April 28th, 2023 for a specific stock, FRM, which ran from $6.72 to $108. That giant increase in stock price saw short coverage levels increasing from 98% to 5,695%. By implementing those margin requirement or margin call settings, it effectively reduced the number of margin calls that went out. Now, I haven't read through that full proposed OCC regulation, but of course Biggums has. And somewhere specific in there, the OCC say without this waiving of margin requirements, they would expect a 99% shortfall. And as Biggums added, he said the OCC saying they expect a 99% shortfall says everything you need to know. And it says all of these members, all of these hedge funds, and all of these institutions would get margin called. Now that to me sounds like the SEC is absolutely worried about an AMC squeeze, and that if AMC did squeeze, there would be a 99% shortfall. Now also at the bottom of this Reddit post that I'm including down in the description below, there is also a letter that you can send to the SEC voicing your opinion on this new proposed OCC rule. Biotech Moose has also gone on to explain why the SEC is so concerned about relaxing margin requirements. He effectively said you just need to look at the compromised board of directors at the SEC and at the OCC. On the board of directors at the OCC, you have ex-Citadel employees, ex-Bank of America employees, ex-Goldman Sachs employees, and many others. Everyone here has a vested interest in ensuring that their specific hedge fund stays afloat and doesn't get margin called, even if it's the right thing to do to protect the wider system. He said the OCC is compromised with huge perceived conflicts of interest, with 14 out of the 20 board of director members with direct links to short sellers of AMC. Blunts has also created a separate email that you can send to the SEC voicing your opinion or opposition of OCC Rule 001 34 99 393. As I said again, I'll link this one down in the description as well, so you can pick which email you want to send to the SEC. And finally for today, it seems Virtue Financial is once again under investigation. Investor Turf has tweeted saying Virtue Financial is once again under an investigation by this law firm for a possible fiduciary duty breaches and legal violations by its officers and directors. Virtue is in a world of hurt and is currently facing lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. But guys, be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always guys, be sure to ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.